SimRacing. Last night was the final round of the MX-5 ranked championship in RaceRoom. Here we are on the grid for race 1. I'm starting P6 after a mediocre qualifying session. I left a lot of time on the table, but that just means I'll be able to improve my pace during the race. As we come up to turn 1 for the first time, I'm going to try and leave a little bit of room. I wanted to swing it a little bit tighter on the apex there, but the crew chief told me there was a car right, so I had to open up my steering at the last second. You can see a little bit of incidents in behind. A couple of cars had spun around. Let's move on. And we're about to see my first mistake on this lap here. I just run it a little bit too wide and get in the gravel. That's going to cost me a bit of time and give the cars behind a chance to close that gap that I've been working hard to build. And now, of course, it'll be harder to catch the faster drivers in front. So let's move on to the last lap where the driver in front finally makes a mistake and I'm able to close that gap down and possibly get an opportunity to gain another position. But if I'm going to make that happen, I have to keep close, keep the pressure on, and hope they make another mistake. And I've got to be there and ready when it happens. And it looks like this is my chance. They've gone up onto the grass and I'm easily able to get by. Let's head over to the finish line as we see the race leader coming down the straight to end race 1 of these 3 races tonight in the final round of the MX-5 Cup. There's P2. Here comes P3 down the straight now to round off the podium. P4 is doing a little victory wiggle. There's P5. And there I am coming around the corner. Started P6, finished P6. Spent most of this race in clean air. Wasn't very eventful from my view. So let's move on to the next race. Here we are on the grid for the start of race 2. Lights are out and we're off. The grid order for this race is reverse top 10 of the finish of the first race. So P10 is now in P1 and the winner of race 1 is starting P10. Coming down to T1, I'm going to try and take the outside line and avoid anyone who's trying to dive up the inside. I'm going to take a nice wide turn, leaving room for the cars on the inside. And in doing so, I've dropped down to P6, and I'm going to have to try and get that back in the next couple of turns here from that gold-colored car on my right. I've got the inside line coming up to the next corner, so hopefully I'll be able to pull ahead and get my position back. Back up to P5, but before I move on, let's take a look at some of the incidents that happened behind. Here we can see an ambitious move where the driver thinks they see a bigger gap than what there is. That resulted in 3 cars going around. And while this is going on, just in front, on the very next corner, this white car bounces off the car to the inside and takes out that red car. And here's the view from the driver of the white car. They just didn't see that the green car was there. Maybe they aren't using radar or a spotter. Now let's take another look at that. And if we slow it down, you can see that the white car just turns in, not knowing that the green car is there at all. Catching back up with the lead group, it looks like we're about to have an attempted 3 wide, and that's just not gonna work. Let's take another look at that. See if the blue car sees a gap on the inside. They brake later, but there just isn't enough room. The other car clearly doesn't know that he's doing that, and the driver that was in P2 paid the price. So moving on now as we enter into the Nordschleife, leaving the GP section, and I've somehow found myself in 3rd place. Now I've got to try and stay close to this driver in front, take advantage of any opportunities that might come my way, but more importantly I want to open a gap to the cars behind and try and pull away as much as I can, consolidate this 3rd if possible. But as you can see, I'm under all kinds of pressure from the driver behind, which is why I've been really trying to push forward, maybe get by the car in front and start opening up a gap. I managed to stay in front of the cars that advances from behind. I don't know how long I can keep that up. And as we approach Flugplatz, I'm right behind them, trying to put all kinds of pressure on, hoping I can squeeze by. And it looks like this is my chance. They got the line into Flugplatz wrong, and I slip in front. But before I even get the chance to breathe, I'm under attack again. I have the inside line covered off, doing my best to defend, but there's nothing I can do. They managed to get around on the outside. All I can do is keep moving forward and try and stay ahead of the train of cars behind. Coming into this next corner, you can see I've got my line wrong. I leave a gap. The driver behind tries to take advantage of that, and there's a little bit of contact. Sends them spinning around. Well, I get sent into the barrier. Let's look at that again from a different angle. As we come into the turn, I'm a little bit wide, there's a gap, they go for it. As I'm closing the gap, we come together. Lucky for me, there was no damage, and I could just keep going. But I did lose a position, and now I'm under all kinds of pressure from the car behind. Making mistakes like taking that turn too wide isn't going to help. And you can see they're already fully alongside. All I can do is try and defend. Coming into the next turn, I'm going to take the inside line and do the best that I can. They go around the outside and still manage to get out in front. And now that the faster drivers have started making their way by, the one behind wants their turn. And having such a poor exit on the last turn basically handed it to them. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is tuck in behind and try and move on, try and keep up with them. Maybe someone in front will make a mistake I can take advantage of. And as I finish saying that, the next driver behind closes the gap and prepares to try and make their move. As I take that turn too wide, they're easily able to slot up the inside. They've got a wheel along. All I can do is try and head them off into the carousel, which I've been able to do. I've got that position saved for now, but they're still right behind, and they are a faster driver, so I've really got my work cut out for me if I want to hold on to this position. But a few turns later, and they're still right on my bumper. I'm going to try and be defensive, take the inside line here and hold them off, but that puts me in a compromised line for the next turn, and they're able to easily get by on the outside. All I can really do now is try and keep close, so when we get to the back straight, I might be able to get my position back from the slipstream. Now at this point, I've fallen back to P7, but we're on the straight, in the slipstream with the cars in front. Hopefully I can use this to my advantage and get at least one of those positions back. Now we see the driver on the left trying to take the inside line, but the blue car doesn't see him. They come together. Gold car goes in the grass with two wheels, and I'm going up on the outside of them. I've got two positions out of that. What a lucky break that was. And now I find myself back up in P5. So here we are on lap 2, nearing the end of the GP circuit. You can see the car behind is really putting the pressure on. I'm going to try and hold on to the position all I can. Coming up to the Nordschleife now. I'm on the inside, forcing them to take the long way around. I'm still a little bit ahead. We come into the next turn. They're going to take it on the outside. I'm doing my very best, but there's nothing I can do. They've got it. And just up ahead, let's take a look at this driver's unfortunate mistake to get two tires in the grass before they brake. They've got no grip on the right, so they spin around. They go to back up, but that puts them right in the path of the next car. So I'm back up to P5, chasing down the driver in front, trying to put them under pressure, force them into a mistake, take any advantage that I can get. Here I move to the inside. I'm just trying to get in their head. I'm not trying to go for a move. I'm just trying to psych them out. That might put them off balance going into the next braking zone, and maybe I can take advantage of that. They've gone a little bit wide, but there's not quite enough of a gap for me to fit in there, so I'll have to hold back, slide in behind, and try and keep chasing them down. So now we're towards the end of the race. The other car has gotten away from both of us. I've been following the whole time, trying to find a way by, and it just hasn't worked. But I know I'll have a pretty good chance of getting by on the straight as long as I can stay close enough to get the slipstream when we get there. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Now we're nearing the end of race 2. On the straight, I've got the slipstream. I moved to the side, I've got more speed, and with these cars barely doing over 200 kilometers an hour, it takes a while to get the move done. Now that I'm in front, they try and come in behind, but I move over to the side to try and break the toe and take the inside line because I know they're going to have the slipstream, and I don't want them to be able to get to the inside before I do. And with only a few turns left in this race, I've really got to hold on to this position. And as we start going down the hill and come around the turn, I've clearly got the position, and all I've got to do is hold it to the end. Now let's quickly jump over to the finish line and see the race leader as they're about to cross. And there is your race 2 winner. And as we head into the last braking zone, I'm still just ahead of the driver behind there. They haven't been able to find a way to retake their position. And there's the last turn of the race. And here we can see just in front of me is P2 and 3. Followed closely behind by yours truly in P4. And what an exciting race that was. Starting in P5, falling back to P7, then fighting my way back up to P4. I really wish I could say the same for race number 3, which you're seeing getting underway right now. And in this race, I've started P7 because of the reverse top 10 grid order. Now as we come down into turn 1, I'm going to take a bit of a wide line, giving a bit of room for anyone who tries to dive down the inside. I'd rather lose some positions rather than getting taken out. But sometimes, despite our best efforts, as you're going to see, things don't always go according to plan. Things seem to be going alright so far in race number 3, but in just a few turns, things are going to change. So let's hop on board and you can see what happened from my point of view as we come around this turn and we get ready for the right-hander that immediately follows. I can see there's a little bit of collision up front, so I stay over to the right and then I get shoved off by the car in front that I guess just didn't see that I was alongside. And just as I've collected myself and get back on track, it happens again. Another car turns into me and I just narrowly miss that yellow car coming out of the turn. My tires are all dirty, so I'm not able to keep it straight coming out of that. Just all kinds of bad. I have absolutely no grip, so I'm just keeping to the outside until I can get situated again, losing all kinds of positions. And just as I thought it was clear, there was one more car to come through. Well, let's take another look at some of these incidents. So just ahead there's a couple of cars coming back on from the shoulder. The car in front of me didn't see that I was there and moved over to avoid them. And I got the short end of that stick. Let's rewind a bit so we can take a look at what happened on my rejoin here. And it looks like they just moved too far over to the right and they don't leave me any space. And they start turning in before the actual corner. Well, let's skip forward a little bit to the Nordschleife. Coming around this corner, I get 2 tires on the grass before I even notice that car is sideways on the track. I tried avoiding them, but with having dirt on my right tires, I just didn't have the grip. But I was very lucky to only get a little bit of damage out of that, so I was able to keep moving forward and try and get some of my positions back. I'm about to get one right here, and just up ahead you can see the next car. I'll be catching up with them at the carousel. Closing that gap down, I'm going to try and position myself to pass them around the next couple of corners here. And I've pretty much got this one in the bag as I'm starting to pull ahead. And that gives me the inside line for the next turn here. And there, I've got it. Skipping forward now to the last lap, the last race of this championship. And we've come up to a group of cars where I'm going to try and start making my way through. Taking the outside line, I've got more speed so I know I can get it done. And there we have it. Now I'm going to line up for the next one. I really want to get through this group of cars as quickly as I can and move on. And as these 2 cars fight each other, it gives me an opportunity to go up the inside. We see the car that I just passed before comes up on the outside, hits the curbs too heavy, goes up on 2 wheels, and it looks like it's game over for that driver. I managed to get through that undamaged, but it did set me back a little bit, and I wasn't able to catch up again until here on the back straight. As you can see, I try and fake out that driver, make them go to the outside as I come up on the inside and go for the pass. We're side by side going up the hill, but I've got the inside line, so they have to try and go around the outside, which is the longer way. And they got a couple of tires in the dirt there, so that probably slows them down. They're going to have to brake a little bit earlier, and that gives me the upper hand. So we go over to the finish line here. We can see your race winner. The last race of this championship crossing the line right now. See in the distance there is P2, P3 right behind. There's a bit of a gap to the next drivers behind. See that red car is actually a back marker, they're a lap down. So here is the next couple of drivers. There's P4 and 5. And the next cluster of cars is P6 through 10, including myself in P9. Well, as much as I would have liked better results in race 3, I salvaged it the best that I could given the circumstances, and that gave me enough points to come 6th overall in the championship. But more importantly than positions and points, I had a lot of fun racing in this championship, and I can't wait for the next one. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.